Bring in Sheriff Thad Cleveland from Terrell County, Texas. How is it, can you imagine, seeing what we have so far with the inundation of migrants all over this country, that anybody would be against enforcing the president-elect's plans to secure the border?
Howdy, Sandra. Thanks for having me back. And to your point, and as I heard, Jason speak, and I've heard all the rhetoric come from the left about the mass deportations and seeking out those that are criminals in our country, and how we still have leaders in this country that would rather make it a political point rather than doing what's right by their citizens. And look, we continue to have these left sanctuary cities that continue to badmouth, if you will, President Trump about what he wants to do with the criminal aliens. But yet we had a president 8 years ago that was known as the deporter in chief. So, quite a stark difference in political rhetoric there. Okay, so there's also this idea of we don't know what we don't know, right? There's a lot of bad stuff that we already know about coming in. But this is Chief Owens, more from that exclusive sit down on the dangers of the unknown at the border. Listen.
There are still areas of the border that we don't have persistent surveillance, and we need to be able to know who's coming in, and we need to be able to stop them. We need to make them come through the front door. It's that unknown and what the intent is that scares me the most.
I mean, it keeps us all up at night when we hear that, right? And there's so much that we do know about this border crisis, including the 520,000 known gotaways, including the 3,000 pounds of fentanyl seized, including the 520 gang members arrested, including 27 linked to that gang, and 106 individuals arrested from the FBI's terror watch list. And you've got him warning, we don't know what we don't know. There's a lot of unknowns at the border.
Sandra, my county specifically, we're the busiest county, and we're the busiest Border Patrol station between Del Rio, Texas to El Paso, Texas. That's a 600-mile swath of border, and that's largely the Big Bend sector, which makes up a quarter of the U.S.-Mexico border. We have a giant unknown out here. We have a giant unknown in my county. Back in fiscal year 2022, we had over 7,000 apprehensions, over 8,000 gotaways, and then we have the unknown, those that we know crossed our border, but we don't know anything about them, and they're not even gotaways. We don't know anything about where they crossed. So definitely that is a concern. But also, as Jason says, we talk about this train to Aragua and the fentanyl being the biggest threat to this country. And you may not remember, back in February of this year, we had a 6.5-ton seizure at the Eagle Pass port of entry of methamphetamine, 6.5-ton seizure. So all that chaos that's been going on with those people crossing the border illegally, tying up the Border Patrol agents, allowed the cartels to exploit one of our ports of entry and attempt to get that much through. Now, if they seized that much, think how much more made it through, Sandra.
Yeah. And think about the fentanyl that's made it through and the member of those gangs. Look at this map, okay, showing in the country where that gang's presence has reached. We know as far north and northeast as Chicago and New York. We've obviously been reporting on the gang presence there in Denver, Colorado, and just outside of it in Aurora. But they are spreading, and they are spreading fast. What's at stake here on whether or not President-elect Trump gets what he needs to secure the border and stop this from happening?
Well, Sandra, he's already making an impact. Just by becoming our president, being elected into office, he's a ringer when it comes to the U.S.-Mexico border. He's already let the world know that it's going to change here in, about 46 days. So that's already had an effect. And we know the day that he gets in, I foresee him bringing back the Migrant Protection Protocol, which will stop those that are seeking asylum and make them remain in Mexico. He will also use those at CBP and ICE to engage down in Central America and some of those countries where we see a lot of the immigrants coming from. Mm-hmm. That's something else he had done, working and negotiating with other countries. But when we talk about, again, these mass deportations, focusing on the criminal elements, in your map, I'd say it's spread much more beyond those states. There's going to be crime in locations that are really handled within the immigrant community that doesn't get reported out to the police. So much more than what that map illustrates, I guarantee that.
To your point, Sheriff, that's the confirmed presence from authorities. What hasn't been reported is another unknown. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, good to have you on. All right.
Thanks, Sandra. God bless you.
John?
Sandra,